At 2:14 a.m., a mother's phone rang. On the other end was the sound of her daughter, crying, hyperventilating, and begging for help. In that fraction of a second, her nervous system began distorting her logic. Adrenaline flooded her bloodstream before she could even process the words. Humans are biologically hardwired to recognize the vocal signatures of their loved ones. Our brains lock on to microscopic details, the specific pitch of a cry, the rhythm of a panicked breath, the break in a familiar voice. When we hear those markers, we react instantly. But investigators later pulled the timeline apart and found a complete disconnect. At the exact moment the mother was negotiating with kidnappers, her daughter was asleep at a friend's apartment miles away. Her phone was quiet. She never made the call. Our evolutionary defense mechanisms, our emotional intuition and acoustic recognition, have become active vulnerabilities. The very biological alarms we rely on to protect our families can now be weaponized with a few lines of code. Building a convincing voice clone used to require a soundproof studio and hours of pristine audio. Today, machine learning models can construct a complete vocal profile from less than 10 seconds of raw data. Scammers harvest that material everywhere. By scraping TikTok clips, Instagram stories, and uploaded podcasts, bad actors treat voluntary social media footprints as an open-source library of vocal identities. The technology has advanced past matching pitch or cadence. These models now replicate the acoustic markers of human distress, synthesizing gasps, microstutters, and the specific frequency shifts of a person in active terror. Because these systems bypass our logical filters by flawlessly imitating trauma, how a voice makes us feel is no longer a metric for truth. Emotional authenticity has been decoupled from reality. To unravel a digital crime, forensic teams start by looking past the human testimony and examining the raw data left behind. They cross-reference the victim's memory with the cold mathematical logs of phone carrier metadata. The first fracture in the illusion appears in the timestamps. The mother reported speaking to the kidnappers for nearly 8 agonizing minutes. The carrier data proved the actual connection lasted less than 4. This map shows how perpetrators mask their actual location. Rather than calling directly, they route the audio through multiple international jump nodes, masking the call's true origin before it ever reaches the victim's phone. Trauma warps human perception, stretching seconds into minutes. When our memory fails under pressure, investigators must rely on the hidden digital architecture of our devices to find the objective truth. This spectrogram visualizes a real human voice under stress, revealing dynamic, chaotic frequency bands. But with a synthetic clone, the chaos disappears into a mathematically uniform output. Experts hunt for microscopic anomalies in this smooth band, highlighting tiny micropauses and blurred compression artifacts. Yet, even with these tools, experts are frequently disagreeing on whether an audio file is real or a synthetic clone. The evidence is rarely conclusive. The generative models are learning to replicate those natural imperfections. The software is erasing its own digital fingerprints faster than the forensic community can invent the tools required to detect them. For decades, the justice system has treated recorded media as the unshakable standard of proof. A tape recording or a video file has served as definitive evidence that something happened. That standard collapses when highly trained forensic analysts cannot definitively authenticate a piece of digital evidence. If the experts cannot agree, the recording becomes effectively useless in a court of law. If juries and judges lose faith in the validity of recorded events, the mechanism for determining legal guilt breaks down. Doubt enters the system permanently. Synthetic audio has transitioned from a tool for financial fraud into a direct assault on the legal mechanisms used to prove reality. With institutional safeguards falling behind, individuals must adopt strict defensive protocols against emotional digital attacks. Families must memorize a strict checklist to break the spell of a synthetic panic attack. 1. Disconnect and call the person directly. 2. Establish a pre-agreed family safe word. 3. Force logical verification over emotional response. Bad actors rely entirely on sustaining emotional panic to prevent victims from independently checking the facts. If you can pause the conversation for even 10 seconds, the illusion usually collapses. The internet was originally built to document and preserve facts. Instead, it has become an eraser of certainty, forcing us into an era where reality must be actively proved rather than simply perceived.
Some stories should never be uncovered.